Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Lunch and Learn here with Qyrus. We're happy today to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into test data management and the role of that in Qyrus and modern software testing. So thank you for joining us, and we're just going to give it another minute before we start off here.
Qyrus is your one-stop shop for all your testing needs. We are the first comprehensive and complete automated testing SaaS platform that can test all things digital. Test your web applications, mobile applications, perform API testing, and tie it all together by testing end-to-end business processes on Qyrus 2. But beyond just that, Qyrus covers your infrastructure needs as well. Through the usage of our own device and browser farms, execute your tests at lightning speeds, in parallel, and on real mobile devices. To complete the circle, tie in your CI/CD pipeline implementations. Qyrus is simple to use, scalable to your testing needs, implements smart features to augment the testing process, and entirely secure. Data-driven testing is when data from external sources is used to execute tests with different sets of input values, enabling users to test different scenarios. The importance of data-driven testing cannot be understated. It can save time and money because each scenario doesn't have to be tested individually, but rather can all be tested in one go. Test happy and unhappy path scenarios in the same execution and with ease. Qyrus enables users to parameterize individual steps in a test script, and what this allows for is the ability to provide input data for those individual steps. The most basic example of data-driven testing and parameterization would be testing different user logins. On Qyrus, for the steps where we enter a user ID and password, we can specify to grab the input data from a data table. There, we would specify a set of user and password combinations that would be input for each scenario given. That way, we could test for certain things, like different levels of authorization and unsuccessful login attempts. On Qyrus, we have a tool that specifically will help with data-driven testing, test data management. Test data management helps to create, fetch, manage, and organize test data into data tables to be used during execution. And data tables can be populated with data from a source, and then we can map that data to steps in our individual test scripts. All this data can be managed in one spot in the test data management section. There are three primary sources that we can utilize to create data tables for data-driven testing on Qyrus. One, databases can be queried, and then data can be imported into a data table. Two, we can call APIs and get a response back in the form of JSON. Then we can map that JSON response to data columns in a data table. And lastly, number three, data can be created manually on Qyrus, and users can manually input the data themselves. Create a database connection accessing one of the currently 5 different database types. Provide the necessary parameters to create the connection, and afterwards write a query to fetch data from the database. In this instance, we are fetching all the data from the table named product. Run the query and then view the results in the table view below. Select the data columns and rows to import into the data table, and then the data can be viewed in the next tab. Create a new API connection and enter all the API info and parameters. Then, if there is any authentication required, do so in the Authentication tab. Lastly, any headers can be configured in the Headers tab, and once everything is ready, run the API. A JSON response will appear in the bottom left box. Map the individual paths to columns in the data table by selecting the JSON path on the left. Then, change or configure column names as needed. When ready, import the data to the data table and view it in the Table tab. Manually creating data tables can enable users to input specific data into the tables to be used during the executions. Users can either upload a CSV or XLS file, or all data can be input yourself. Users can then choose to either add the data columns and data in each row, or to have the data auto-generated by Qyrus. To auto-generate data, add a new column, or edit an existing one and ensure the auto-generate data toggle is switched on. Choose which type of data to auto-generate. We have a wide array of data categories and types to choose from, ranging from addresses, names, phone numbers, product names and prices, dates, and much more. Then click on the Generate Data button and view the results on the table. Now, to use this data in executions. To parameterize a step in a script, click on the Parameterize button on the desired step. Provide the data column name in the data column field. Afterwards, navigate to the Parameter File tab and create a new table for this script. Next, we choose which source we want to grab our data from. Choose which columns and rows to import. Then, map the parameterized table columns to the column names in the data source. Then save the data table. When we execute the test and view the report, we can see that there are multiple test cases that have executed. Scrolling below, we can see the different test cases with step-by-step analysis, including screenshots and video of the test execution. Just like that, we took one test and executed it against multiple testing scenarios and datasets. Similar to how we parameterize this test script, users can parameterize their tests, thus turning one test script into a powerful script that covers all possible scenarios. Test data management is a powerful tool that enables better organization and management, as well as faster and more efficient testing.
Awesome. Now moving on over to our Q&A session. Thank you very much for attending the Lunch and Learn. I want to say, first of all, moving over to some questions and answers. So one question that we had pop up, and that pops up regularly with test data management, is what format does test data management accept when uploading data? Now, we can actually accept CSV and XLSX files in order to import data into test data management. So if you already have some existing data in those formats, you can reuse those on Qyrus. Another question we have is, can we generate random data? Yes, so we can generate random data, so completely random data using the auto-generate feature that we just mentioned. So we can generate completely random words, or just a set of words, or a singular word, and also just random alphanumeric sets of data. So we can absolutely generate random sets of data for you. Next question that we had gotten was, what kind of data can you generate using example-based auto-generation? So example-based auto-generation for us works best with credit, things like credit and debit card numbers and networks, number patterns, names, numbers with percentages, for example, as well, and IDs with a mix of characters and numbers. So we're constantly refining our auto-generation feature to work better and offer more choices to the end user to use. So using example-based, you can absolutely generate a wide array of different data sets to use. And then lastly, can we export the data tables from Qyrus as well? And the answer is yes, you can export these data tables from Qyrus. So once the data table is created on Qyrus, there is a button there which says export to CSV. So you can actually export the data tables that are created in test data management on Qyrus to a CSV format for usage elsewhere or otherwise. So yes. Yeah, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate all of the attendees, and join us again for another Lunch and Learn in the future, where we'll be covering other topics such as device farms, as well as device farms, as well as service virtualization, amongst other things, including possibly AI features in the future. Thank you very much.